Hey guys, welcome back to Checkerboard Chat, the official sports podcast of the Daily Beacon. As always, I'm Blake Von Hagen, the sports editor. He's Will Backus, the assistant sports editor. Today we got two pretty special guests with us. We got Cory standing to my right. We got Noah Taylor to Will's left, and they are our soccer beat writers. They're also our basketball beat writers, and today we're going to be previewing the Tennessee soccer team as they look forward to the NCAA tournament. We're also going to talk a little basketball and a little bit of football. All right, so just getting started, we'll talk a little soccer here. Cory and Noah, they've been doing soccer all season. This is Cory's second year on the beat, so we'll start with Cory. Cory, Tennessee, with their first-round matchup in the NCAA tournament, they're hosting it on Friday night against Louisville. What are you looking for in that match?
Well, what I'm looking forward to is to see if the defensive effort keeps carrying over because, like I said, this is a team that I was wondering from last year to this year under Penske, would that continuity carry over? Would that chemistry carry over? And through the regular season so far, that answer has been a resounding yes. They have 10 regular season shutouts after recording 9 all last year. I'm really looking forward to seeing how Shea Yanez responds in front of the home crowd. I'm looking forward to seeing how Khadijah Shaw and all the seniors mesh on offense because they've struggled a bit on that end, but I think they'll get the hang of it going forward.
Noah, what do you think are the keys to that match on Friday?
Well, definitely I think it's defense. They had that shootout against LSU a week ago or last week in the SEC tournament, so they're going to be coming out looking to kind of for some redemption, I think. And Louisville, I think, is going to be a challenging matchup for them for a first round. It's an ACC team that's 12-6 right now, but the ACC is a very solid league in soccer, so I think it's a really good matchup for them to get a challenge in the first round.
Yeah, I think on paper Louisville looks like a team that's pretty high scoring. So, how much does Bunny Shaw mean to this team? To keep Tennessee in front.
Everything. She means everything to this team. I mean, she missed. She played 10 games this year, and she took home SEC Offensive Player of the Year honors. That's something she didn't even do last year when she was setting program and school records. So she means everything to this team in terms of offense. Like I said, they've struggled on that end a bit this season, but I think that with given her talent, she's recorded a hat trick already. She's had 2 game-winning goals for walk-offs at the buzzer against SEC opponents. She means everything in terms of offense, and I think she's going to have a big impact on this game.
For football games, Will and I usually do score predictions, so I guess we'll ask you guys. I don't know if you thought about score predictions, but you guys think Tennessee advances?
I think I'm going to go with Kentucky in this game.
Soccer.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
We'll get a football later.
Yeah, great. Yes, I think they do advance. Yeah, being at home, and then obviously if they win this, they get it home next week in the second round as well. So that'll help.
Tennessee advances. I think they're coming. I think they're a bit steaming coming off of last week's SEC tournament loss. They went out in the first round for the second year in a row. It's always tough to lose on penalty kicks. They're going to have the Regal Rowdies behind them. They're going to have that home crowd, all the energy. I think they go home. I think they take this one 2-0.
All right, and then we'll move on to basketball here. Cory will be doing men's basketball with myself. Will and Noah, they'll be on the Lady Vols beat this year. The Lady Vols played an exhibition game. Tennessee has 1 win under their belt against Lenoir-Rhyne. They won by 45 the other day. They got another game coming up on Friday night. What are some takeaways you had from that, opening season win? It was almost like another exhibition game for Tennessee.
Well, you hit the nail on the head right there. It was almost like another exhibition. You're coming in, you're playing a D2 school that's severely overmatched in terms of talent, in terms of coaching. This team's continuity is carried over much like the soccer team. Rick Barnes has this team in a great spot right now. Their confidence is right. They're still playing hellacious on defense. They're getting a bit better on offense. I think they still need to get into rhythm or get into a better rhythm early. But with co-SEC 6 Man of the Year not playing and another lengthy guard and Jalen Johnson sitting out, it's always going to be tough to pick up those pieces. But I think they've done a pretty good job thus far.
Yeah, I think Lamonte Turner's certainly going to help this team when he comes off the bench. Obviously he was a guy that could come in and provide a spark on offense last season. One thing I noticed in that win over Lenoir-Rhyne was the difference between the Tusculum game coming out in the second half. The second half against Tusculum, Rick Barnes was not happy with their effort coming out. They didn't play much better in the second half than they did in the first half. But this week against Lenoir-Rhyne, they come out and they really put their foot on the pedal in that game, and they jump out to a huge run to open the second half, and that kind of sealed the deal for that game.
Yeah, you're right. And the most shocking stat that stood out to me most is they held, no matter what division you're in, they held them to 11 points on 12.5% shooting in the second half. I spoke with Kyle Alexander after the game, and he said, they were looking to put their foot on their throats early, but they were disappointed in how they started, and that was one thing. They They took off after they had a few miscues to start the second half, and they covered the spread, 45-point victory, and they have definitely have momentum going forward.
Yeah, they gave up 7 threes in the first half. Second half, Lenore was 0-15 from three-point land, so that was a big shift from the first half to the second half. Moving to the Lady Vols beat, what did you guys see from the exhibition game?
Well, personally for me, I think that the biggest takeaway from that game is that the Lady Vols are a very tall team. Carson Newman's coach reflected that the Lady Vols only have one player under 6 feet tall. They've got a couple of 6'4" players. Cassiana Kushkudua is 6'4". Freshman Mimi Collins is 6'4". So they've got length, and that's definitely going to pay off whenever they get into the meat of their schedule against the SEC, when they face players like Tiara McCowan from Mississippi State, and then they play Notre Dame, who's got some bigs. That's going to pay dividends. And also the freshmen really showed out in the exhibition game. They got a lot of minutes. They played I think equal minutes to the starters in that game, and freshman Zay Green had 28 points and I believe 10 rebounds for a double-double. She really showed out. She was something like 8 of 12 from the field, or something a bit, really good like that. Probably the most concerning thing would be free throw shooting. They only converted, I think, 50% of their free throws, maybe a little bit less. They struggled all day to get those, free points that people generally get. But I think down the stretch, the length and really depth of this team, because they've got their starting 5, but then they have those 4 freshmen that can come in at any time. And they showed against Carson Newman, but they showed that they can come in and provide some valuable minutes.
Yeah, Will mentions the youth of this team with the freshmen and some of the struggles they had at the free throw line. Obviously, they dominated Carson Newman, but fortunately, they're going to have a stretch here where they can kind of work on that before they get into the strength of their schedule, which will kind of be in early December. But coming up, I think it's Florida A&M, Presbyterian on Sunday, teams like that before they start playing teams like Oklahoma State, Texas, Stanford. So they're going to have some time to kind of fix those problems before they start getting challenged more.
Right. They open up the season on Sunday against Presbyterian. They've got 3 matches in a row, which should be kind of those tune-up matches before they head to the Bahamas. For, I think, the Bimini tournament. They face Clemson in the first round, and then they really kind of hit the ground running with their schedule. They face multiple top 10 teams in Notre Dame, Texas, Stanford. They've got, SEC powerhouses like South Carolina, Mississippi State, LSU, Missouri, Texas A&M. They've got a really hard schedule this year, really stacked schedule. So we'll see how that depth that I mentioned pays off and how that length that I mentioned pays off, in the future. And if it really does become a factor, it's definitely a pretty tough schedule for them this year.
Well, Noah was itching to get there a little early, but now we're going to talk about Tennessee football coming up against a game against Kentucky on Saturday. Kentucky coming off probably their biggest game in program history at home. They lose that one. They get blown out by Georgia. Now they're coming to Neyland Stadium. Tennessee needing to get 2 more wins in their last 3 games to be bowl eligible. So it's a big game for Tennessee for sure. I don't know what the crowd's going to look like for that game. It's a mid-afternoon game, so probably a decent crowd. Kentucky, a different Kentucky team than you're used to seeing. Tennessee has dominated this series, but Kentucky won last season, so Tennessee will look to get back on the winning track there. Currently, Kentucky is 6-point favorite. We'll start with Cory. What are some keys you see to that game for Tennessee?
Well, they're going to have to try to protect Jarrett Garantano. That's something that they haven't been able to do all season. He takes hit. I don't know how he gets up from all the hits he's taken every single week. They're going to have to find a way to give him a few seconds in the pocket to make some plays. You can't always look up the field and see an open receiver when you have a second and a half to get rid of the ball. And one other thing is they're going to have to try to find a way to contain Benny Snell. I mean, how else are you going to be able to stop Kentucky from getting out of the end zone when their primary running back is slashing through your defense? They're going to have to try to find a way to protect the quarterback. They're going to have to try to find a way to limit Kentucky's rushing game. And at this point, I'm not sure if that's going to be even possible.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for Tennessee's offensive line because Kentucky's got one of the best pass rushers in the SEC and possibly in the nation. So Tennessee, they're going to have to protect Garantano. It certainly looks like it's going to be a slug-it-out kind of game, a lot of ground game. Will, what are you thinking for this game?
Yeah, I mean, Cory kind of hit the keys on the head. This is probably one of Kentucky's best seasons in their history as a football program. They've got all kinds of momentum, sitting at just 7-2 right now. They're still playing for a lot, even though they lost a chance to go to the SEC championship last week against Georgia. There's still a New Year's Six bowl on the table if they finish out the season strong and in convincing fashion. And even not then, still a pretty prestigious bowl. They're ranked in the college football playoff poll for the first time in their history. They're ranked in the top 25 for the first time since 2007. So they've got a lot of momentum. They're a very hot team right now. I think a key to Tennessee will probably be forcing turnovers and getting their offense in good situations early on, because against Kentucky's defense, Tennessee's offense isn't going to be able to sustain long drives at all, I don't believe. They've got studs like Josh Allen and Cash Daniel at linebacker, and their secondary has been playing pretty well all year. So Kentucky just has a solid defense. So Tennessee's going to have to force some turnovers. I think Kentucky's weak point is probably their quarterback, Terry Wilson. He's got kind of a propensity to try to force balls where they shouldn't go and try to throw it downfield to make big plays, and he rolls out a lot. So if you can get a couple interceptions off of him, he's not had a great year so far. That's definitely going to probably be the only way Tennessee is going to be able to pick up a win, is kind of forcing turnovers, or at least making him uncomfortable, forcing Kentucky into passing situations, because they've got Benny Snell, and if Tennessee just allows them to rely on Benny Snell the whole game, then it's not going to be good for Tennessee.
Yeah, we don't know exactly how healthy Benny Snell is going to be, but it does sound like he will play. Next, we'll go to our resident college football expert, Noah Taylor, who during the Super Bowl sits and watches Maction reruns. Noah, what are you looking for in this Tennessee-Kentucky game?
Well, I agree with everything you both just said. Defense is going to be key for Kentucky and for Tennessee as well. If Benny Snell does play and he's playing up to par, it's going to be hard to slow him down. I think this game means more. I mean, they call it a rivalry game because they share a border and everything. It hasn't really been much of one in its history, but I think this game means more now than it has in a long time, maybe since 2007 when Tennessee needed to beat them to get to an SEC championship game. Like you said, New Year's Six ball on the line for Kentucky. For Tennessee, they need to win 2 more, and it's looking pretty hard with teams like Missouri and Vanderbilt, who has played pretty solid this year as well. So, I think, it's going to have to come down to defense, and obviously these are 2 offenses that probably aren't going to put up a ton of points on each other. Kentucky's definitely fallen off since they had that 5-0 start on offense.
Yeah, and Vanderbilt's been a tough team for Tennessee the last 5 years. So, Tennessee doesn't have a ton of options. If they want to get to a bowl game, this is a big one for Tennessee, especially if it being a home game. That Vanderbilt game might end up being almost a home atmosphere for Tennessee, like it usually is at Vanderbilt. But, that's down the road. We'll wrap things up here with score predictions for this game. Kentucky opened as a 3-point favorite. They're up to a 6-point favorite right now. Cory, what's your prediction for the game?
21-17 Kentucky.
Any reasons?
I think it'll be a ground and pound game. I don't think it'll be high scoring at all. I do think Tennessee might force a couple turnovers, but I also think that Kentucky's defense will return the favor, and I think that they'll grind out a win in front of a hostile crowd.
I'm going to go with 20-14 Kentucky in this one. I think they've just got a little more on offense, a little more playmakers, and their offensive line they can trust a little more than Tennessee can. And with Tennessee's offensive line, it's just tough to put points up on the board. So I think Tennessee might need a special teams touchdown, a turnover, something like that, if they want to be able to win this game and kind of flip the momentum.
Yeah, I'm going to go 14-10 Kentucky. We've already mentioned neither offense is great. Kentucky has Benny Snell and an awesome offensive line, but their passing game has been less than subpar this season. And Tennessee's offense, I think Tennessee's offense would be great if they had a competent offensive line, but their offensive line is easily one of the worst in the nation, and Kentucky's just going to probably take great advantage of that with a guy like Josh Allen, who has 10 sacks on the season and 14.5 tackles for loss. He's a legitimate NFL player, so he'll probably, wreak havoc in Tennessee. It's not going to be a high-scoring game. It's not going to be a super exciting game either. I think Kentucky gets the edge just because they've got great players on defense, and they have Benny Snell to rely on in that offensive line that might push Tennessee's defensive line around because of their seniority. So I say 14-10 Kentucky.
I guess I kind of gave away who I was going to pick earlier, but I'll go with the score now. I'm going to go 17-13 Kentucky. Defensive game that it's just going to come down to turnovers, like you said. I think Tennessee makes a mistake or two, and Benny Snell comes through, with a couple big runs, but it's not going to be high scoring at all. So if you like offense, I don't see it happening.
Yeah, if you like offense, you might want to stay home and watch a Big 12 game or something like that, because
Yeah.
this game is going to be ugly by all means. So we'll have plenty of content coming up this weekend. Cory's working double duty. He'll be at the soccer match, and then he'll be at the men's basketball game, both on Friday night. We'll have the football game, obviously, on Saturday. So we'll have plenty of coverage from all those things. Make sure to check us out on social media and the Daily Beacon website. But for now, thanks for watching.